back to the podcast. Hi, welcome. Hi, me,
Hey, everybody.
he, we do podcast. You listen. Welcome. It's
Yep, we
been a
do the
little bit.
podcast.
It's been a little bit. We are back. I think we were supposed to come out with one last week, but then we didn't. But now we're here, so it doesn't matter. We have a few things to talk about. Some fun, some in between, some impending doom. Not really. And we can just get into it. So I want to hear yours first
Oh,
about
thank you. Thank you. Putting me right on the spot, huh?
absolutely
Okay. Well, I was introduced to Matt Rife
Rife.
about a month ago. Never heard of him. I was on YouTube, not TikTok, YouTube. I don't go to TikTok anymore. And I found him to be a handsome young man, very witty. I got introduced to what he would call his red light comedy at first, where uh, he would ask people in the audience, what was the red light that would make you perhaps stop seeing somebody? And the women loved it. The women would tell them what they didn't like when they met somebody, what the red light was. And he would play off of it, and he was ingenious. His sense of timing, his laughter, his smiling, the way he um, made the time go by smoothly. Some of his comments really made me laugh, and I don't laugh that easily anymore. And then he went into other subject matters, which some inappropriate but funny. And I looked into some of his background, and you would know probably more of his background than me because you were on the TikTok and YouTube. But prior to about a year ago, he was on TikTok, and I think he was just struggling, to make a living. And now I think his venues pay him at $100 to $200,000, and he's selling out not just small crowds but large crowds, young women, older women. Uh, they love him. They love the interaction with him. The men love him when he gets the men involved, and then he has some basic stand up. I think he's trying to get away from interactive comedy, where he's doing basic stand up, but he's very good. He's been doing this since he was 15. I think he's 28 now, and he talks about coming from Ohio, I believe, small town where the big thing was bring bring your tractor to school. The rich kids would bring their tractors to school um, on a special day, and he talks about how crappy life was, and again, everybody seems to love him. He's very good looking. Uh, I was listening to him, and he was saying, "Look, he says he has not had any work done on his face. He says the only thing he had done was his teeth. When he could afford it, he had his teeth done. But he is very good looking, very smart, and I enjoy him. But after listening to maybe a couple of dozen of his segments, uh, his style is repetitious to me. Um, Brilliant, but repetitious. You know, he plays on his group of women, sexuality, uh, men. But again, it's not standard stand-up comedy, even though he's on the stage standing up. Uh, and I wonder what his longevity would be. He says he has done some acting, and he says he wants to get into acting, and I would hope so. And with that, in that regard, I wanted to talk about comedy uh, in my day. Now, you go on the internet and you ask who are the most famous comedians of all time, and they have people on there I've never heard of. There are people on there I have heard of, but I don't think they're very funny. But that's me. Everything's taste, what your taste is. So I wanted to mention a few comedians uh, who I find to be funny, or I found to be funny because they're deceased, and perhaps I'll give you a little history about them. And they're a bit contrary to what Matt Rife does. Okay. First of all, there was a great comedian named David Brenner. He was also an actor, a producer, a director. He did many, many documentaries. And he at one time, I think he still does, held the record for being on Johnny Carson, for those of you who remember who Johnny Carson is, 100 times. And he sometimes would sub for Johnny Carson. Very, very funny stand-up, topical. Unfortunately, he died at a young age. I would say anything under 80 is a young age. And but he's worth looking into on the internet if you want to have a good laugh. But again, it depends on your age. Then there's Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy, I enjoyed very much when he was on Saturday Night Live. And then my wife and I went to see some of his famous concerts where he decked himself out in all leather. And believe me, we were not prudes, but we walked out on one. It was so dirty that we could not stand it. But I considered him, with all his imitations, Buckwheat and Mr. Rogers and many, many imitations that he did on Saturday Night Live, to be fantastic. And then the films he did so many films, 48 Hours, and he should have gotten an Academy Award for what was that? Girls with what was the one where he sang?
Oh, I don't know.
With Beyonce and I forgot the name of it.
Was it a movie?
Yeah, I forgot the name of it. It was a show on Broadway, and then they made it into a movie.
Dreamgirls?
Dreamgirls, yeah. I thought he deserved that. And so he went into acting, and, in between making children and getting married, he is very, very funny. Very, very funny. Then there's my all-time favorite comedian. My all-time favorite comedian is Rodney Dangerfield. When I was Peter's age, I used to go into Manhattan on 2nd Avenue. Rodney Dangerfield, his key line was, "I get no respect." My wife said she wanted to go on a trip. I took her to a place she never was, the kitchen. He had very funny repertoire of jokes. He had a nightclub on Second Avenue, and he made a few movies. He was on Johnny Carson's talk show many times. I think he's the most hilarious of any comedian I've ever seen. And if you go on YouTube, uh, I don't care what age you are, he'll make you laugh. And another comedian, Miss Don Rickles. Don Rickles was the king of insult comedy, but like Matthew Riff, uh, his he really wasn't a stand-up guy. He was interacting with the audience, but he had insult humor. You'd laugh. After a while, I felt that you've heard it all. We took a man and a woman would be sitting in the first row, and he'd go, "That's your wife? Oh, what a dog!" Oh, you're not with the mafia, are you? I hope. You know, uh, he would like rank people out, and he was funny, but after a while, you know, you knew what to expect. I was at the Westbury Music Fair with my wife Dardanella, and he asked who has children, and I raised my hand. Never raise your hand because he's insult. He does insults. And he says, "How many children you have?" I said, "Two." He says, "How old are they?" I said, "Well, one is 10 and one is 8. How many years you been married?" I said, 3. He said, "Very nice." He goes, "But I can't even repeat what he said." He says, "Oh, so what it took you basically 7 years of practicing till you got it right, or decided to get married?" And this is in front of a whole audience. And we'd laugh. You can't be insulted. I laughed. And then there's the comedic Jerry Seinfeld. Not a lot of people like him. He's intellectual humor. I like intellectual humor. Uh, I watched this show on TV, Seinfeld. I think I've seen every episode of Seinfeld. And again, longevity. Actually, he's one of the richest comedians going. He must be worth close to $1 billion.
Oh yeah.
And they had asked him, does he want to do one more season of Seinfeld? I think they were going to give him a couple of $100 million to do it at the time. He says, no, we ended a good thing. Why, continue it?
Well,
Although I did not.
that's funny because he then came out with a show called Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is literally just Seinfeld.
Yeah, with Larry.
Larry David.
What's it? Larry. I love that show, by the way. But
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's funny that he claims that, oh, it was a good thing to stop. He went around years later and came out with Curb Your Enthusiasm. Curb Your Enthusiasm
well,
is the
I don't think he had anything to do with it. I think it's all Larry. What's his name?
Larry David.
David. I don't think Jerry Seinfeld has anything to do with it. Maybe I'm wrong. But I've listened to him, intellectual humor. And mind you, there are 100 great comedians out there. Some have never gotten their shot, as they would say, but some get lucky. And I hope Matthew Rife, or however you want to pronounce it, I hope he gets longevity like these people. Two more comedians. Wanda Sykes. I think she's hilarious. Considering how difficult it is for women in anything to break into a market, Wanda Sykes, in my opinion, is hilarious. And she's done TV shows, stand up comedy. And I think people who listen to her will find it very, very enjoyable. Uh, and then, I'm sorry, there are two more. I'm leaving the best for last. There's Sarah Silverman. Sarah Silverman uh, is a woman also who broke in, who's filthy. Her humor is filthy, and it's not for everyone. And she had a few things going against her. One, that she was Jewish. She is Jewish. Two, she's a woman. And three, she's filthy. Not dirty herself, but a comedy, is filthy. But she's funny, and she had her own show. Um, and she can be very enjoyable. She's done a couple of roasts of people, and she's kind of funny. People might enjoy her. And then my second favorite behind Rodney Dangerfield, or maybe even right there with Rodney Dangerfield. You know who I'm going to say?
I think I have an image of the person. I think I remember the name.
It's not a pebble.
The Rock?
Who's the Rock?
Dwayne?
No.
I don't know.
Come on.
I have no
Chris
idea.
Rock. Chris.
Oh, that was not who I was thinking.
Yeah. I
Oh
think
God.
Yeah, I think Chris Rock is hilarious. Some people find him very offensive. They think he can be uh, racist at times, but he says it as he sees it. And if he's racist, it's only because what he's talking about is people who are racist, and the government or whoever are racist. When he brings up topics about uh, the government, the police, uh, or different organizations, and he's topical, and he's funny. Sometimes he may be racist, and people get offensive, and he can be dirty, using words that some people will be offensive by. He's done a few movies with Adam Sandler, who's one of his best friends. He's lately done some drama movies. No, pretty damn good. He did a movie in 2014 called Top Five with Rosario Dawson, which was pretty good. And I love one of the remarks on that movie. He plays a comedian who's being interviewed by Rosario Dawson, who's a reporter for the New York Times. And she says to him, you should do this interview. And he says, wait a second. And he gets on the phone and he says to his agent, what do I got to do an interview for the New York Times? He says, what's the next thing I'm going to do? And evidently on the other side of his phone, his agent said, you're you're really starting to hit bottom. You better get out there and take the interview before you wind up being on Dancing with the Stars. So those are
Nice.
some those are some comedians: David Brenner, Eddie Murphy, Rodney Dangerfield, Don Rickles, Jerry Seinfeld, Wanda Sykes, Sarah Silverman, Chris Rock, and Matthew Rife. And I would like to see Matthew continue with success, and I would like to see him maintain his humility and maybe start doing a little bit more basic stand-up and get into feature films. So just wanted to share that with everybody.
I I think I wanted to add something really quick about the Matt Rife thing. I think there's two very specific things that also are not aiding in his career, which is one, social media, and two, crowd work, which is what you were saying, interactive comedy. I think right now it is very, very, very popular to do interactive comedy because it is unique. It's creative in the sense of every single time you go to a show of his, he doesn't know who he's going to speak to. So the comedy is off the cuff and it writes itself, and it's fun and creative, and even if the audience lies, it's still unprepared. And that's what a lot of people like. The problem is the format of how people go about it is so overused since I'd say about 2017, that it's now becoming just very, very overused. Additionally, social media, the part that got him famous, is also the part that is severing his career, because I would argue part of the reason why you're quote unquote getting tired of him and his routine is in part because you see almost every performance he has.
Yeah,
You never saw Chris Rock on every performance on YouTube. You didn't see Dangerfield on every performance on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. You don't see the hottest and the funniest clips from every performance he has boiled down to 15 seconds for immediate gratification and that immediate dopamine boost. So the fact that now we have people like Matthew Rife who are, they got popular off of these short quip things, and because he's attractive and all these things, now is starting to hinder his career because people are, their patience and their loyalty to his brand is the lifespan of his brand is much shorter because people can mass receive his content on an ungodly scale. There are people who will for 3 days straight just watch everything he has known to man. And it's like, great, that's great. But you also just hyper consumed about 5 years of his work.
I
And it's,
agree.
and that's a big deal. And people you don't think about it. It's like, oh, well, it was only like 10 hours worth of content. It's like, yes, but that's 5 years worth of content that he has been working on. And that was millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars and tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people over those years. And you just consumed all of that in about 3 days. That's
Yeah.
massive. And people
Mhm.
don't realize that scale and that scope. And so then they either want more, and it's like, well, that's just not possible. They're not machines. You need to wait. Or they get tired of it because they got their fill. They got their absolute fill when normally, like, that would normally take a couple of years because you'd start following this guy around. Or maybe it never goes away because you only consume the content when you get to see them or hear about them. And so there's slopes, but now people get everything they want exactly how they want it and then drop off a cliff and they don't want them anymore. So I think those two things very specifically are a hindrance to his career and to a lot of people's careers, not just him, like whether it's comedians, actors, actresses, anyone who is a public figure for whatever reason can be at risk for this because years and years and years of work can be condensed into about a weekend. And
Yeah.
people are not self-aware enough to recognize that and say, hey, I'm going to take a break from this guy. It doesn't mean he's bad, just means I got to take a break.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah. I think like one of the see he's very very quick witted. Uh, he was
yeah,
doing it
he's
the
quick. He's got some good jokes, and I agree with you. I think the crowd work can be a bit much sometimes. But
yeah
at the same time, you know, the reason crowd work is popular is because people were getting tired of the pre-planned skits that people like Chris Rock, people like Kevin Hart were doing on stage over and over and over and over again. And especially with social media, if you've got one skit that you take around the country, what like you're not even going to get halfway across the nation before it hits social media, and your whole set is now on social media, and the people who were going to come see you or who might have come see you are now not going to pay to come see you because they just saw it for
Yeah.
free, and you made
Yeah.
pennies.
Yep.
You made a fraction of a penny because there's views on YouTube. And even if it's your YouTube account and you're making money off of it, the money
Yeah.
that you made off YouTube is not even close to what you would have made at the show.
One of the skits I saw, and I don't remember it exactly, but it was a red light, and this woman in the audience, absolutely gorgeous. She said she was divorced, a blonde lady, gorgeous. And he said he likes older women. And he's repeated this many times. He said, "How old are you?" And she says, 43, and I'm divorced. He says, "Get out of here." And she says, shows him her phone and a picture of her daughter who's 21. And he looks at her and says, "Okay, when I'm in Jacksonville, I'll date you for 10 years, and then I'll trade you in, and then I'll date your daughter." But
Nice.
the way he says it is very, very humorous. And the women love it. They like being put on the spotlight,
Yeah.
into the spotlight.
Well, I've heard him talk about that on a podcast too, of he's like very worried that he's not he does normally comedians can gauge whether their jokes land based on the crowd and how it works. He can't gauge well whether he's actually like a good comedian or not, because he's very aware of the fact that he's an attractive dude. He keeps himself well and fit and good looking. And he's very aware that there are women who will literally follow him across the country just to see him perform. And he's very aware that his front audience is almost strictly women who are attracted to him. So they laugh and they sit there and they giggle and they have a good time, but it's not it doesn't indicate whether he's actually good at his comedy or not. They're just there because they like him, not his comedy. And so I've heard him talk about that on a podcast. And right, like there's something to be said, like, oh, he's too pretty, such a problem to have. He's making thousands of dollars to be too pretty. Like, yeah, okay, I get it. But simultaneously, if this is a guy who enjoys his craft and really wants to be a comedian, it sucks that he's not able to get some form of validation on whether he's actually a good comedian or not. There's the monetary gain, but if he genuinely does enjoy being a comedian and not just for the fame, it sucks. It's hard because he wants to be better, and he can't figure out where he's lacking if there's just women goggling at the fact that everything is so great about him.
Yeah, but he is talented, and I hope he stays around for a long time, that he has longevity. And I just wanted to mention him and some other comedians of the past.
Yeah.
So you want to go on with what you have to talk about?
Sure. We can take an absolute and utter left turn out of this conversation and go into two things. First is, I'll keep quite brief, but I wanted to bring it up because it is present. Excuse me.
Oh boy, bring that up again.
For those who don't know, we are about 4 days away from a most likely a government shutdown. This has been a consistent trend within the American government, but we are about 4 days away. The reason why I say that is because I'm going to read this article. This is from NBC News. The U.S. is headed towards a government shutdown this weekend unless Congress takes action. Government funding expires when the clock strikes 12:01 on Sunday, and lawmakers are still divided over spending levels and whether to give more aid to Ukraine. Congress debates a plan, government operations that Americans rely on, and paychecks for millions of federal workers hang on the balance. Where's the part that I wanted to? Okay, here
While
it
you're
is.
looking,
No, I found it. Appropriations committees in both chambers are supposed to pass a dozen spending bills. For those who don't know what a dozen is, that's 12. That cover different federal agencies.
it's not funny. Some people may not know.
The bills must pass both the full House and Senate before going to the president's desk to be signed into law. If Congress runs out of time to finish the process, which happens often, lawmakers can pass a short-term funding extension to give themselves more time to hash out a full-year deal. While both House and Senate leaderships have signaled that they want to pass a short-term bill called the Continuing Resolution, or a CR, neither chamber has done so. Often Congress will package a few or all of the 12, because that's the thing, is they both sides will have 12 spending bills that they need to get through. And so Congress will usually try and package a few or all of the 12 spending bills into what's called an omnibus spending bill and pass that, which basically is just a sweeping pass of these bills. But House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, R. Califf have, where is it? Kevin McCarthy and R. Califf have repeatedly said that Kevin McCarthy, Jesus, I'm having a stroke, said he would never go down that route. So far, the House has only passed one of the 12 funding bills on the floor. The Senate has passed none of them. On 2 occasions, last week, a small faction of conservatives blocked GOP leaders from bringing the Defense Department's appropriation bill. Usually an easy one to pass since it's funding for the military, and that did not go through. So the likelihood of us hitting a government shutdown is very, very high, because not only have we not gone through any of the 12 spending bills, we've gone through one of them on the House. The Senate has done nothing. And on top of that, Kevin McCarthy is hell-bent on not agreeing on an omnibus. So we are most definitely hitting a government shutdown. The things that are good to keep in mind in terms of what will not be affected and will continue to go on in terms of mandatory spending will be things like Medicare, Medicaid, temporary assistance for needy families, and veterans benefits.
Social Security.
Yes, Social Security is another one. Those are things that are guaranteed regardless of government shutdown. The spending will continue. So just figured I'd bring that up and share with everyone that that's what's most likely going to happen.
Tell me if I'm correct or not. Our podcast is being interrupted by a phone call now. Tell me if I'm correct or not. I thought I read that if there's going to be no government refunding, that Congress will still be paid their salaries.
Yeah, that's the fun part. That's my favorite part of this whole thing. Government workers will be expected, quote unquote, to pay to work. So government workers will be expected to continue to work, which when this happened, I believe it was in 2019, when we were out for 34 or 35 days, government workers started just calling out sick. Rightfully so, because why the hell are you working for a month and a half without pay? But yeah, government workers are expected to work without pay, but Congress, all the 80-something-year-olds are going to take naps while Congress speaks, and they can collect cobwebs, and they can collect a paycheck. While the 4 million government workers, what is it, 4 million? Let me see. It was, where the hell is it? It's on this article. Let me see. 4 million employees. Yes. During a shutdown, the federal government would be unable to pay its 4 million employees. Hundreds of thousands of these government workers could be furloughed, meaning they would temporarily stop going to work. During 2013 shutdown, 850,000 workers were furloughed. These workers receive retroactive pay when the government reopens, something that was not always guaranteed until Congress passed that law in 2019. So great. No
Yeah, what
pay,
happens now?
and then
What
a
happens
massive
now?
influx of pay when they reopen.
Yeah, what happens now? Like you're coming to me on Tuesday, and Sunday, uh, the problem can start where government shuts down. What happens to the traffic controllers at the airports?
Yeah, we don't know. That's the problem, isn't it?
You
I may
know,
be walking home. Uh, yeah,
no,
we
you
don't
may not
know.
be able to. You may not be able to come here.
I may not. And I'm going to be honest, the pilots are also supposed to be striking next week. The writers strike,
Nice.
the writers strike is no more. They came to an agreement. Yay, good for them. They came to the studios agreed to all of their terms, which is great. Uh, Wonderful, happy for the writers. But there are still so many other people striking: nurses, teachers, UPS people. I think the UPS people came to an agreement. Um, oh, what the hell was it? There was like 3 or 4 other ones that are striking as well. God.
AFL-CIO.
Yeah, them. There's also not retail, but like service workers. Involves people regarding like waiters, waitresses, but also retail, but also anything that has to do with like customer service. I know there was a strike going on about their automotive striking, and the companies are hiring scabs at 14 an hour to pay to continue the work because they are just going to let these people continue to strike. People are striking, and there's more strikes planned coming. And I believe pilots are supposed to strike next week. So we'll see if I actually get to come see you. If not, I'll take a car and we'll just trip down there. Um,
Yeah. What the saddest things about strikes are, Peter?
what?
They, if they work, they're good. If they don't work, it's a waste of time. When I started, when I got a draft notice to go to Vietnam, my mom got all upset, and I took an instant teachers training course, and I started teaching in 1967, and uh, I had been married for 2 months. First day I went into work. Second day there was a strike. So, you know,
Yeah, but
you strike.
there's valid reasons for these
Yeah,
strikes. Like it's
yeah,
not you to have a strike occur, there has to be a group acceptance that something is wrong. It's not just a couple of people going, I really don't like that we don't have enough staplers in the office. It's I
yeah.
don't like that everyone around me is having not being paid properly, or like automotive workers where the CEO got a 40% pay increase after already making 7 figures, 8 figures. And the automotive workers want their 40% increase, but they want a 40% increase over 4 years. So they only want
Mm.
10% a year, and they're still getting a no. Ridiculous.
And
So,
yeah,
well,
you
hold
know
on,
what the
hold on.
problem
Hold
is?
on, let's take a pause because we have to swap the Zoom things because this is going to end in about 25 seconds. So we'll be right back. Pause. We're back. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to say a lot of the strikes are intended for the benefit of the strikers. A lot are intended for the benefit of the people who are supposedly formulated the strike. But a lot of times you get people who formulated the strikes who have big balls and small brains, so you got to be very, very careful what you're striking for. And are you sheep being led to the slaughter? Uh, who's leading you in the strike? So, you really got to acknowledge what you're doing.
Yes, because not I would argue a lot of the strikes we hear about are ones that tend to be for good, proper benefits, right? Like I believe I saw a video of Joe Biden striking with I don't know who it was, might have been the automotive workers. He was out there with them. with a bullhorn hanging out. But yeah, not all of them are good. Because some of them just I don't have knowledge of every single one, so I'm not going to say they're all good. But the ones that I'm talking about so far are, in my opinion, net positives, and are ones that should be happening, because
Okay.
especially in this society where everything is expensive and no one can afford crap, anyone who justifies that the CEO who's already making 7 and 8 figures deserves a 40% raise, but the
Here we
workers,
go again.
don't, a little bit of a problem. A little
Okay,
bit of a problem. They don't need to be
I
making
know,
millions.
I knew you throw something like that in. But good for you.
No,
Okay.
it's true, because that's one of the craziest things that I think I saw so many people making comments about, was people getting upset the fact that, oh, a 40% pay increase, they don't deserve that because they're just the workers. It's like, well, hold on. It's 10% over the next 4 years. And also, the CEO,
Yeah.
who's already making 50 million a year, got a 40% increase. So why do they deserve another 20 plus $1 million, but they don't deserve an extra $2 an hour? What do you mean? What do you like?
No, okay. Okay.
That's my point. Is it's not like I'm at least for this specific circumstance. I
Okay.
don't like no, they all shouldn't be paid the same. They all shouldn't be getting paid millions. Not everyone deserves that because of the work warrants it. A doctor should be paid more than a janitor.
I know.
There's
We
different
we
features
always,
to this,
I know.
but it boggles my mind the absolute bootlicking that occurs. Anyways,
Okay.
anyways.
Okay.
The
What
other
was
thing
your
I
next?
the other thing I wanted to get into was, this is more pop culture based for those who are uh, of the older generation. There is a streaming
What do you call the older generation?
older generations, I should say, multiple. I'd say anyone from like 40 and up who probably doesn't like pay attention to a lot of pop culture stuff.
So I'm older. If I'm 79, I'm older than dirt, right?
No, you're just of the older generations.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So you are lumped together in the older demographic, the older
Okay.
generations. Anyone who's, I'd say, about somewhere in their 40s and up probably won't know about this unless it is of their interest, because
Okay.
it's pop culture crap that someone my age knows about because that's the sphere that I'm living in. But someone in that age, that's not the sphere they're living in. So it's unlikely that they would know about it.
Okay.
There is a streaming platform called Kick, and it was started because of Twitch. Twitch is another streaming platform, and Rumble is another streaming platform. Twitch has been a streaming platform for the past 10 years or so, and it was the household name, the place to go if you wanted to live stream video games, variety content, whatever you wanted to live stream, you went on Twitch. And it was a very, very not prolific, but it had a very good system to it in how you could grow and how people could help you grow, and it was a very good community. And over the years, it has gotten worse and worse and worse, and the company has gotten greedier and greedier and greedier. And they've shown a lot of other issues, like they will favor certain streamers or be very misogynistic with how they handle people, and just overall very painfully obviously a problem with the company. So Rumble came out, which that became the super far right wing platform for people to go to and spew their hysteria. And then Kick became another platform in the past couple of years, or I think it was like last year. And they wanted to be the middle ground. They don't want to be super far right. They don't want to be super far left. Twitch isn't even far left, but they're just a crappy company. They wanted to be paying you what you're worth, as well as allowing for everyone to be on this platform with less guidelines than Twitch. So, of course, you get every person known to man flocking to there because the money's better, and people like XQC got $100 million contract to go over there for 2 years and whatever else. Recently, a streamer on Kick by the name of Ice Poseidon streamed had a night where he was streaming where he brought a fan, I believe it was a fan, or it might have just been someone off the street, into his apartment. He brought them into his apartment and paid for an escort to come to the apartment. And he secretly recorded the interaction between the escort and this guy on a couch. They went into the other room. They were like, oh, we're going to leave you two alone. I believe the escort knew that the recording was going on, but I don't believe the guy did. And it was a very weird, awkward, and uncomfortable video to watch. I only saw a couple seconds of it because that's how I discovered it, was on a timeline on, I think, Twitter. And I read an article about it, and it's apparently a video of very awkward groping, and the woman was uncomfortable, attempts to leave, and was told she can't leave yet by the guy, by Ice Poseidon, who paid for her. And it was nothing crazy happened. They didn't have sex, but it was very awkward groping. She was uncomfortable and had to stay for a little while longer because she was paid to stay. And there are people on Kick who are leaving and threatening to leave because Kick has done and said nothing about this stream, which is a very weird and problematic thing to have on a platform that predominantly has kids and people under 18 on the platform. Very, very weird. And so to then add to that, another streamer, one of the biggest ones on Kick by the name of Aiden Ross, promotes a lot of heinous and just problematic content, goes on to bitch and moan about people who are complaining about Ice Poseidon and saying that it's a bunch of left-wing Democratic pussies who need to be hung on trees. Like, it is truly an event to experience when we have people like Aiden Ross at his mid-20s saying that specific people need to be hung on trees because he doesn't like that they disagree with someone recording an escort having a very uncomfortable moment on a couch.
So it's like porno.
Basically, it basically is. And the fact that people are rightfully uncomfortable and Aiden Ross has the audacity to say that is a massive, massive deal, a massive problem. Nothing's going to happen to Aiden Ross because Aiden Ross has shares in Kick's company, and he is Kick's poster boy or the main guy on Kick. So he's nothing's going to happen to that guy. But Ice Poseidon, I think something should happen to him because that is absolutely heinous to call content. And for the sake of, because we are in a digital world and society where the most controversial stuff is how you get views, this is where we're going, right? And if Kick doesn't speak to this or say something or handle this, we're going to start to see a lot worse come onto the platform. Because now if people know, oh my God, I can do this, that worked as content and they didn't say anything, some guy who's only got 100 live viewers a night is going to do that. And he's going to turn that into a business, and he's going to try and get more people to view him because he wants more money. And they're going to push the envelope more and more and more until something genuinely illegal occurs or something absolutely genuinely problematic that should never be surfaced on live streams goes on there. And the biggest problem is this platform has an 18 and up section. There are sections for the kids, shall we say, because it's meant to be a streaming platform for games and gaming content and children. And they have an 18 and up that you're not allowed to go to so long as you are under 18. But the big reason why people are complaining is because if I'm a streamer and I have 300 live viewers a night, and I'm playing games like Fortnite or a game called Crab Champion or just games in general, and I know my demographic is 75% kids, why would I bring them over to this platform? Why would I do that? I'm going to go to Twitch. I'm going to go to YouTube. I'm going to go somewhere where there is hopefully, well, there is better guidelines and hopefully better content, because why? I am afraid of the people who watch that problematic content coming onto my platform and starting fights and demonizing the people within my chat who I'm trying to build a community with. And also, I'm worried about my community ending up in spheres with these deeply problematic things. Why? And what does it speak to you as your brand, right? If I try and go to sponsors and I try and say, hey, sponsor my stream, I'll put a code in my stream, I'll sell your whatever, your protein powder or your juice or your watch or whatever it is, I'll promote it. They're going to go, no, you're on Kick. That they've got those people on there. We don't want our name attached to that company.
Yeah.
So it is, it is scary. It is real.
You should write an article about this, and attack and send it into the appropriate format. Reviewing different types of streaming.
Yeah, that might be a decent idea.
Be a reporter on streaming.
Could be. That's a possible idea. But yeah.
Because I have no idea about these Kicks and
yeah, well, it's just a bunch of
that.
It's a bunch of digital apps that, especially at your age, it's unnecessary and it means nothing to you. It means a lot for me, as specifically because seeing these people like Aiden Ross, like Ice Poseidon, and other people like Sneeko, who, that was actually the last thing I wanted to bring up, was there's another streamer named Sneeko, again, brings up regularly misogynistic, anti-LGBTQ, anti-trans, anti-patriarch, like anything that's not like straight patriarchal ideology is a problem. And
is there a format that reviews the streamers?
Yeah, you can report these streamers, but with Kick, they don't care. They stream gambling. They live stream gambling, which a lot of YouTube and Twitch don't do because it's not good. Kick doesn't care because Kick actually is a I believe the term is a subsidiary company to a gambling company. Kick is owned by a gambling company. So they, of course, invite more gambling on their streaming site so that they can promote their own gambling stuff. And why would they not promote more controversy? Because it's more views and more money, more revenue. But someone like Sneeko, again, promotes very misogynistic and very problematic content. And he loves to believe that he's raising awareness for men's health and promoting strong men, when very, very obviously to a intelligent group of people that he is just being problematic, misogynistic, and projecting. And he met a couple of his fans at a baseball game, and the video went viral last week because he met them, and the first thing that they said was fuck women and gay people should die. Fuck women, I can quote directly from one of the kids. Mind you, the kids that came up to him were about 12. They were about 12. And this kid smiling, giggling, saying, fuck women. And then I believe another one said gay people should die or something to that effect. And they're taking pictures with him. And he shocking and surprised, goes, I never said that. Well, I didn't tell you guys to say that. And they're going, yeah, it's your content. Like, this is what you talk about. And he looks at his camera all surprised and laughing at how ridiculous this is. This is that's the part that worries me, is he thinks that he's just fucking around and that it's all satire, or the times that he does say something misogynistic or anti-queer or just problematic in general, he may think he's being satirical, but there is a level of awareness here that he is not recognizing. He's aware that his demographic is youth and young people. He is aware that his content can be impressionable on young people, but he's removing the responsibility of himself in how he's influencing these people with his content. And so when something like this happens, he's shocked that they said something so heinous to him. Meanwhile, that's the content he spews every day.
Yeah, and you got to be careful, because a lot of people believe anything they hear on the internet is true.
Well, but it also, you hear it enough times, or you just develop that community, and of course you're gonna start believing in that rhetoric, right? That's how some of these mentalities go along. Is, there's different ways to go about it, but that's how you develop these communities. You start off with a nugget of something that is mutually understood, right? Men's mental health is a problem. Men are dying at a rate of once every 60 seconds. That is a statistical thing that is actually occurring. A man is ending his own life at least once every 60 seconds. And you take that and you harp on that, and you try and argue that you're promoting men's mental health and men's physical health, and you only want the best for men. And then all of a sudden you start throwing in little notions of how women belong in the kitchen, or women are part of the problem of why men's mental health is so poor. And then all of a sudden we're a year down the line, and this guy is now talking about why women need to be subservient and need to stop working because men are the only ones who have the right and deserve to be working, and women shouldn't vote. And we start moving backwards in time. And this is a concurrent.
We are moving backwards in time.
This is a concurrent thing that has been going on now. For someone like you and me, who have a fully functional, fully developed prefrontal cortex, we can look at that and go, that's wrong. That's a problem. This is something that shouldn't be discussed. Or I see they're being satirical. I don't agree with it. I wish it wasn't on the internet, but I can see they're being satirical. I'm not going to laugh, but I can recognize that they don't even mean what they're saying. A 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 and 17-year-old boy looking for guidance in his life because his father isn't giving it to him, and the people around him aren't giving it to him, will go to places like YouTube, because YouTube's more prevalent in their lives than their parents are. So they're going to use YouTube to shape their lives. And they won't realize that they're getting indoctrinated, and it becomes a problem. So
brainwashing occurs.
Well, it's scary. It's scary to see how blatant and open these kids are coming up to these streamers, and that these streamers, full knowing what they're doing, are just tossing responsibility out the window. But all of this was meant to focus on the streaming platform of Kick. And I believe Sneeko is on Rumble, which is like the far right one. But either way, we this is not good. It's not good that the upcoming generation is experiencing this. And that's why I said earlier, for you not knowing what these apps are, it doesn't matter. It's not going to affect you. It's going to affect me when I am at a job or I'm somewhere, and that generation is spewing these things that I now have to work against, right? Or I have to help try and reverse, whether it's my own kids that I decide to have, or if I end up owning a business or working at a company where I have to train people and that's what's going on, I have to manage that or whatever, right? If it's my own girlfriend or wife or at the time, I
Hmm.
have to combat that. So just
Yeah,
woo, weird stuff going on.
yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for
Yeah.
informing me about it.
So when the government shuts down, Sunday, Monday, and then the pilots go on strike, I'm going to buy some rollerblades and I will see you in the next day. I'm going to, yeah, uh,
1,350 miles. How long is it going to take you to get here?
I'll bring two pairs of rollerblades.
Okay, because the wheels are going to
Right,
wear off.
right.
Yeah,
Two pairs of rollerblades and just a backpack.
yeah.
And I will, what I'll do is I'll also get a string so that if I can, what is it? Hijack? Not hijack. Hitchhike?
Don't, yeah, don't
Hitchhike.
say that word hijack.
No, hitchhike. I'll hitchhike and I'll see if I can tie myself to the back of someone's bumper and I'll just take a nap while they keep driving.
I'm definitely worried about the fact that you will get on the plane and
The pilot's going to strike halfway through the flight. Someone's going to have to fly the plane. Someone's going to have to land the plane.
yeah, there won't be sufficient traffic controllers, so it bothers me because I remember once before this happened.
It's all right. I'll jump out of the plane early, land, and then I'll do the traffic control.
Okay, okay. So, is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, the next thing that probably will come up is student debt uh, this month,
That starts on the
October.
first.
Yeah, and what's going to be with that?
Probably
And
nothing because if the government shuts down, no one's going to be calling about the money. So people are just
well,
not
it
going to pay it.
depends. It depends where you got your loan from.
Well, if you got it from government funds, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
You,
got it from, Sally Mae and whatever other loan shark that you got it from, garbage companies like those. Yeah, you're probably
yeah.
in some deep shit.
Okay, so let's hope for the best. And I hope that everybody gets through this. And maybe the congressmen will give up their salaries too,
Yeah.
and show us that they really care. I
Yeah.
just hope they don't decide they're going on a vacation break.
Yeah, sure. And
Hey,
Ginsburg's gonna be the first one to give up her salary.
yeah, yeah.
She's
Ginsburg.
is that
Ginsburg's dead.
who's that I'm thinking of the wrong person. Who's that 91-year-old that's been rolling in on her wheelchair, Democratic
Uh,
side?
I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
Super old.
I don't know. Doesn't make a difference.
No, now I need to know. Feinstein.
Feinstein. Okay,
Feinstein.
from
Diane
California.
Diane Feinstein. Old as
Yeah,
dirt. She's
yeah.
gonna come rolling in and go. She's gonna be the first to give out her salary and say, you know what? I don't need it. I'm circling the grave as we speak. Give it to someone
Yeah,
who needs it,
yeah. And I'll tell you something.
like a business
Uh, we're
owner for a multi-million
we're,
dollar company.
we're approaching a year from this November, the presidential election.
I know.
So we're going to have a lot of things to be talking about
I'm
o-
aware.
over the next year.
I'm aware.
Um, and
I can't wait to not vote for. I can't wait to pick between an 80-something-year-old, an
yeah,
absolute psychopath from Florida, or a 75-year-old. I can't wait.
and
Two,
he's the you know I don't want to get into it. Okay, so I would like to say to everybody till we meet again.
till
Uh,
we meet again.
till we meet again, everyone, be well Be safe. And make sure when you get on the plane, there's a pilot on there.
Yeah.
Make sure.
Yeah.
Make sure. No trainees, pilots.
All right. Peace out.
Love you guys. Bye.